Hello everybody, it's Mike here at Game from Scratch, and I have to admit right up front, this one fell under my radar. I'm a few days late in reporting it, but if it missed my radar, there's a good chance it may have missed yours, so I figured better late than never. There is a contest going on between Universal Studios, Microsoft, Intel, and Unity. Basically, it's a game dev challenge. Are you a fan of the Jaws 3 original series, Voltron, the reboot, Battlestar Galactica, the recent reboot, Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, or Back to the Future? If you are, and you're a game designer, this might be perfect for you, actually. It's a very unique contest with some very strict regulation going on. But the initial phase is kind of wide open to everybody. And from what I've seen so far, there isn't the level of exposure and activity I would have expected. The initial tweet only has, you know, a few dozen, if that, replies, etc. So this one is under a lot of people's radar, so this might be a contest that's a lot easier to win than you might have expected. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Now, this is being offered by, it's hosted on Unity, on connect.unity.com, and yes, you have to use Unity. So I know, to all of you Godot developers, Unreal Engine developers, CryEngine developers, well, it was nice talking to you. I will see you in the next video, hopefully. Yes, this is 100% a Unity-only competition. And now I'm going to lose a few more viewers. This is also only for Windows 10. And on top of that, you have to somehow implement Microsoft's Remix into it. And you may be asking yourself, and this is a fair question because I asked myself the same thing, what the heck is a Microsoft Remix? And apparently it's their Twitch. I think everybody's building something like this. It's a real-time gaming collaboration platform of some kind. You build it into your game. Everybody's pushing towards this. Twitch is pushing for it. YouTube's pushing for it. Various other game developers are all pushing towards it. But basically, it is that, you know, social streaming integration built into games. Well, you have to factor that into your pitch. So anyways, back to the contest. It's built around those 5 IP platforms. So basically, Universal is outsourcing their game development to the crowd. And it's kind of a cool idea in a way. And there are, in fact, rewards here. Now, again, this is one of those things where you definitely want to, you know, get into the legalese before, you know. So they do cover all of the specifics, things like IP rights, etc. But I'm not going to go into them in this video. This video would be 5 hours long, and it would be a lot of me saying I am not a lawyer. But so we're not going to go down that road. But I will make sure to link you all the relevant documentation. But this is split into a couple of phases, actually 2 phases. I guess that's a couple. Phase 1 is basically a concept. This is actually really easy. There's not a whole lot involved in doing it. You're working around one of those 5 IPs. Again, Battlestar Galactica, the 2004 series. God, it's been that long. God, I'm getting old. Anyways, the reboot of Battlestar Galactica, the reboot of Voltron, the Legendary Defender, Back to the Future film trilogies, Jaws film trilogy, maybe just the one, and also Turok, Son of Stone comic book character. You can't use any of the actors or music from those actual themes in your pitch, but otherwise you're basically building your game around that concept. What you need to deliver and what you're going to be judged on in Phase 1 is a game design document up to 13 pages in length in PDF format. That is pretty much the heart of it. And that is where this actually might be of some interest to non-Unity developers in general, because they do provide a template or an example of a game design document. So if you've always been curious of what that should look like, well, they're actually providing one in this. I will get to that in a second. And basically, you're walking through elements of gameplay design, narrative, and technical goals. They talk later on, though, what they want you to also show off a little bit, and part of the judging and metrics is how you used Unity's functionality best, how you used Microsoft Remix best. So there is a little bit of doing a sales job of how you're going to showcase these technologies wonderfully in your game. So if you basically just come up with a brilliant and wonderful game, it's not enough. You have to do a brilliant and wonderful game that shines on Unity using Microsoft Remix. That's kind of the rules. That's kind of what this is all about and where the money came from. We'll get to the money in a second. You can also have to do one pitch video. Basically, brag about what you're capable of and your team is capable of. It can be a solo person or it can be a team, but obviously I think if you've got a great team with established work behind you, you probably get a bit of a heads up because of your pitch. But basically, submit a private link of your sales pitch of your game as well, and then the rest is all optional. Basically, you can add concept art, other videos, some models that you would work with, etc. So if you've got you know, cool ancillary stuff that will sell them on your game design pitch, you can add that as well. And yeah, that's about it. You submit everything in through Unity Connect. The judges are, well, these folks. The one person, this person here, is the showrunner for Voltron. Dean Takahashi is from VentureBeat. He's one of the best game journalists, to be honest. He's kind of the opposite of Kotaku. Over here, we have the writer and co-producer of the Back to the Future films. And over here is a consultant of geography. I have actually no idea what that is. But anyways, none of these people, as far as I can tell, are game developers, so they're more interested in the concept, the pitch, etc. This guy is probably the most competent when it comes to game development. If you haven't read his stuff, by the way, read it. It's very good. So I'm off my tangent. Now let's look at what you can win. If you win that first round, so if you're one of 6 people whose pitch is accepted, you get a VIP mentorship summit in California. Now this is a little misleading because you also by default win this prize down here too. There's a little confusing there. So basically 6 people are going to win a trip down to California, and I'll get into it in a second what exactly entails of that trip. Now you might be asking yourself, okay, do I have to get there myself? And the answer is no. Up to a certain dollar amount, accommodations are provided and travel is provided up to, I think, about $1,000 for a flight. So depending on how far away, you might have to chip in some of your own money. But if you are North or South America, West Coast Europe, you probably have absolutely no problem getting here on the amount that they provided. Plus, if you are in that group, you are going to win $20,000 for your entire team to split. So if it's just you, you won 20 grand. If there's 5 of you, well, you get to fight to death over deciding how that money is split up. And you also get a ticket, 2 tickets to Unite North America 2018. Coincidentally, that is when the finalists will be acknowledged. And then in phase 2, the guy that wins it overall, so the #1 team, is going to get a 1-year consulting contract with Universal to develop your game concept, $150,000 in just cash reward. That is not, I believe, to finance the game. I think that's just, hey, you won $150,000, but I'm not 100% on that one. Again, check with your lawyer or the legal print on that one for more details. And you also get a pair of tickets for North America. Now, I'm kind of thinking that this kind of giving away 2 tickets for everything is they expect the team to basically be 2 people. That logically makes sense out of the end results, but there's no rules to that effect. The deadline, and here's where I have to apologize a little bit because this actually started a couple days ago. The deadline is April 29th. Now, we're scrolling back up here, though. You will see something. So right here, you have 21 days left. And again, phase 1 is quite literally just pitching your concept video, and any side materials you want to go with, so concept art, etc. And there have only been 11 submissions so far. So you're not behind the curve on this one. If you've got a great idea for any of those games, you can do so now. Now, one of the things I find later on down, and I may not run into it in this run-through, if you're thinking to yourself, great, I can see this in VR. Nope, can't do VR. It has to basically be a widely accessible Windows 10 game. So you can't be a VR game, you can't be a Magic Leap only game, etc. You can't use anything that's not available to your typical player of PC games. So yeah, that's about it. Now we come on down here, the resources available. So they will obviously want you to go and download Unity. You can grab stuff and use stuff off the asset store to help building it. Here is their pitch for, this is the game design document they were speaking of earlier. It's just kind of a recommendation of, how to actually go ahead and structure your pitch to them. And pretty much following their structure makes sense. It's a decent setup. It goes into, some specifics. So I guess you can make it on, if you happen to be one of the 14 people that owns a Windows 10 mobile device, apparently you can use it as well. But that's kind of what they recommend. So you can do things like, pitch the various different gameplay aspects, etc., that go together to make your game. So there is an example pitch there. Once again, the limit is 13 pages. You do not have to use their document, but it is a suggestion and available for developers to go through. Again, unfortunately, you have to integrate Mixer, so you probably want to head to this link to figure out what the heck a Mixer is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing on Mixer. It might be great. I have no idea. I've never used it. So, maybe that's Microsoft's angle on this. Maybe they're going to get a lot better exposure out of this. But the technical details on how Mixer is integrated will be available here. But the truth of the matter is, for phase 1, that will not matter. Oh, where's phase 2? I didn't get to phase 2 yet. Let me find phase 2. Phase 2 begins on May the 19th. As soon as Phase 1 finalists are announced, the 6 finalists receive mentorship. We'll get into what that means in a second. Where's the Phase 2 final submission? Submitting the product. No, that's not it. All right, so we'll get to the Phase 2 details. Is it down here? Another thing to be aware of, there are some restrictions. You must be at least 18 years old. You're creating a Windows 10 game. It can't be VR. That's listed somewhere anyways. You cannot be from Cuba, Iran, North Korea, Crimea, Sudan, Syria, and then some odd ones, Brazil, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Italy, Quebec. Canada is confusing because you can actually be from Canada, but not Quebec, so that is some of the worst text I've ever seen, or Saudi Arabia. I have no idea why Quebecers are excluded, but Jean-Polique, you got host there. I have no idea why that's a thing. Probably some stupid local Quebec law. You can't be an employee, etc. The stuff is all pretty straightforward. Your final submission in Phase 2 must use Unity. It's not really there, so I can find the Phase 2 stuff. I'll pause for a second. All right, and here's the judging criteria. 40 points out of 100 are based on gameplay and narrative design, so basically does this look fun, what makes it unique, etc. 30 comes down to creative use of the brand, so you can't just say I'm going to make a Gundam game, but I'm going to use Voltron instead. So you can see here, out of the 100 points, quite literally, 70% of your score is coming from how good's your story, your gameplay, and how good did you leverage their IP. So this is broadly open. So if you've got a great concept that really sells them, even if you're kind of a little lacking in technical skills, there's a great chance to win here, which is kind of cool. And then this is where it gets a little trickier. 20% of the judgment is, do they think you can actually pull it off? So if you've never developed a game in your life, you're not going to get past this 20% part. Or your game design is going to have to be damned good. And then the final 10% basically boils down to how well did you use Unity and how well did you integrate Mixer. And then in Phase 2, the criteria switches a little bit more. Gameplay and narrative becomes 40, 30, capabilities 20. Actually, that's exactly the same. So it didn't change at all. The mentorship, if you win, is so all of the people that made through Phase 2, so everybody that basically their submission is accepted, will get a 3-day VIP mentorship at Universal Studios of Hollywood, which is, on that in 25 grand, it's a pretty nice price to start with. But you get an hour with an Intel evangelist, 1 hour workshop with 2 Unity evangelists, 1 hour with a Windows evangelist, and 2 hours with USL, Intel Game Programmer. I think you can get into that free, so it's nothing much special there. Oh yeah, and once again, for some particular reason, no, you cannot be in VR. Now, if you connect to Unity Connect, this is where the fine print is, and there is a lot of information here. This is basically specifically saying there's Phase 1. Phase 2 specifically, you're creating a vertical slice of the developed game, in other words, a demo, that demonstrates core gameplay mechanics, UI narrative design, utilizes Unity software and contains the Unity splash screen, is executable on devices Windows 10, integration with Microsoft Mixer, 1 to 3 levels, 5 to 10 minutes of gameplay each for a total playtime of 15 to 30 minutes. Original assets based on one of the Universal's properties. The content exclusions is, again, no character likenesses, no from the game music. And that's it. So that is the pitch for Phase 2. So you're not required to have a final game done for Phase 2, but literally a demo that illustrates all the things you basically talked about in Phase 1. And you go on, more details here. There's a bit more detail literally about the prizes too. So we get here, so the grand prize consists of all this stuff. 1-year contract, average value of 25K. I think they're actually including that into the total prize money. I'm not totally sure. No, cash amount of 150 grand. So if you do win this, grand total without all the other stuff factored in, there is a $150,000 prize pool. And then all the mentorships they're talking about with no retail value. The pricing stuff here, again, is you get that 1-day pass worth about $400. You get $900 worth of 3 nights, 4 days at a hotel. USD round-trip airfare per person for up to 2 people, etc. And then again, these people basically win all of that stuff as well, except for the grand prize of 150 grand. So the exact details of the prize are available in the legalese. This link is available from over here, but you do have to sign into Unity Connect to get a hold of it. And yeah, that's about it. There are some more stuff in here again about IP rights. I would pretty much assume that You have the right to your code, etc., your gameplay concepts, but obviously you don't get any rights to the IP because you're working with Universal's IP. Plus, they get some built-in marketing rights, etc. Go through this yourself. Again, I am not a lawyer, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot more detail. But that is that. You know, it's kind of cool. I don't think I've ever seen a time where an IP holder has opened up a contest to work with their IP. So that's definitely kind of sweet. Some of the IP's pretty cool. There was just a licensed Battlestar Galactica game, so I'm a little shocked. And I think there was just a licensed Voltron game, too, so I'm a little shocked that those two are in there. But they're all pretty sweet franchises. I know there has been... Telltale did a Back to the Future game. There's been how many Turok games? Battlestar Galactica, there's a handful of games, mostly garbage, but there have been a handful of them. I think Voltron, again, as I said, had a game, and Jaws even had a game back in the day. So these are all definitely IPs that you can work with that are kind of, you know, fun and potential. And yeah, don't get me wrong, they are literally outsourcing a potential game being designed for them. But I don't know. I think this is sort of a win-win for both people involved. Anyways, that's it for now. If you're interested, sorry again for the lateness, but you have 21 days to get your pitch and concept art in. If this sounds interesting to you, thought I would share it, make it available to you guys to know about. And again, there's only 11 people in so far, so you're not that far behind. And this really is one of those things that, theoretically, if you come up with a great game design and can write about it pretty quickly, this is something that you can easily do within the time remaining. So I did figure I would share it, and I will apologize this one last time about my lateness in sharing it, but it is a cool contest. And to all of you non-Unity developers, non-Microsoft people, yeah, sorry, that doesn't include you, but there's no real way around it. This is very specifically targeting certain people and very specifically funded by certain people, so I guess that does make sense. But yeah, the door is slammed in your face if you're not working on Unity and Windows. So I did mention that straight up front, so you can't be mad at me if you listened all the way to this point in the video and discovered that now. So, yeah, that's it. Again, sorry for lateness, but it is a cool enough contest. I did figure I'd share it, go through it in way more detail than I intended at 17 minutes long. There's probably nobody listening at this point anyways, but if you still are, please do hit that like button. And if you're interested in all things game development, generally much more timely than this one, but I try to cover things as soon as I find them, and generally I find them the same day they're released. Sometimes I'm wrong. But if you're interested in all that, please do hit that subscribe button. And I have recently learned that apparently subscription doesn't actually mean you get notified, which is stupid, but that notify icon, if you actually want to be 100% guaranteed that when I publish something new, you know about it, you strangely have to hit that button. So if you want to know for sure when I publish something new, do hit that notify button. All right, I will talk to you all later. See you soon. Goodbye.